Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Hope you had a fabulous Thanksgiving with your family and friends and whatever your traditions are yesterday. Thank you for joining me on this Friday after Thanksgiving for this best of Just the Truth. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
This has to be one of the funniest things I have read since the election. I mean, we know that the liberals are just standing on their head because and whining and crying and talking about how depressed they are and they can't go out and all this stuff. I mean, some of the stories I've heard, some of the stories you have emailed me and text me are just crazy about family members and friends who are liberals and who are literally crying and can't go back to work, which I think is just absurd. But the funniest thing I've heard so far is from the federal employees who claim that they lived through the Trump administration the first time, but saying that they're experiencing PTSD over the idea that Donald Trump is moving back into the White House. They're already experiencing PTSD. Is that not the most absurd thing you have ever heard? During an appearance on CNN's News Central, national correspondent Renee Marsh said that federal employees are scared and anxious about the possibility Trump will conduct mass firings early into his second term. She said, "We are a dystopian hellscape." That is from a federal employee via text message last night, and that is the mindset of many of the 2 million federal workers anticipating Donald Trump's return to office. Trump, of course, on the campaign trail said that he would reinstate Schedule F, which is a 2020 executive order that would make tens of thousands of federal workers at-will employees and thus easier to remove. Former Trump appointee Ronald Sanders told CNN that the order could be problematic if it is used to enforce and maintain loyalty to the administration. Sanders told CNN the objective is to create space to put loyalists in what were or what still are career service positions. Concerns have permeated across the federal government, according to the report, with one Energy Department employee telling CNN, "I would say there's a general feeling of dread among everyone. We are absolutely having conversations among ourselves about whether we can stomach a round two." Well, guess what? Put your big boy britches on and get to work because you don't have a choice. Donald Trump is going to be your boss. Marsh with CNN claimed that the Schedule F would allow Trump to begin mass firings of employees perceived as disloyal to the incoming administration. She continued, "As you know, Trump has obsessed about the idea of federal workers being agents of the deep state working against him and his agenda. Some of the employees who lived through the first Trump administration say they're experiencing PTSD. Look, it's very simple. Government employees serve at the pleasure of the president. Now, I know we have all these civil service positions. That's part of the problem with the federal government. We have too many people who are hired by an administration. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. They're hired by an administration and they become protected. I would say to federal employees, if you're doing a good job and if what you're doing is relevant and is needed, you don't have anything to worry about. The people who are suffering from PTSD already, and Trump is not even sworn in yet, they're the ones who know their jobs are worthless. They're the ones who know their jobs, really, they shouldn't be accepting that check from the federal government. They know it's a waste, but they want to keep their nice little agreements and their nice little plush offices in place. President Biden's administration implemented a new rule in April to make it more difficult to fire federal workers. Of course he did. Biden deemed the rule to be a step towards combating corruption and partisan interference to ensure civil servants, I'll get the word out, civil servants are able to focus on the most important task at hand, delivering for the American people. Well, look, that's not necessarily the case. Again, that's the problem with our federal government. It's gotten too fat. And in some cases, you can't get rid of them. Well, we need to. There shouldn't be a single job that is protected. The Office of Personnel Management, the government's Human Resources Department, implemented new regulations barring career civil servants from being reclassified as political appointees or as other at-will workers who are more easily dismissed from their jobs. Again, if you're doing your job, you don't have anything to worry about. And new administrations should be allowed to come in and put their own people in place. That's the whole idea. Donald Trump won, so he gets to have his people in there. And the idea that he's concerned about a deep state, that's a valid concern. Because too often, a new administration cannot accomplish the things that the American people put them in place to do because you got some bureaucrat who's fighting it every step of the way. So yes, the Trump administration, if they want to fire people, they should be able to fire people. If they have people that would do the job better, that they would accomplish the mandate that the American people gave them, then so be it. You're fired, which Donald Trump is very good at saying. Did you see the story about Mark Cuban? This is another funny one. He was very vocal in his support of Vice President Kamala Harris during her campaign. He faced some backlash in the last few days on social media because users say that he has been deleting posts about his endorsement. He's ashamed of his decision, and he should be. He should be ashamed of the decision of supporting Kamala Harris. I mean, what person in their right mind would do so? And particularly somebody who supposedly is as smart as this guy is. Cuban addressed the issue directly, stating, "I've always gone back and deleted tweets." He said for years, same with 2020 and 2016. He mentioned that the now closed app that he helped develop for deleting social media posts, implying this was part of his regular practice rather than a reaction to the election outcome. You buying that? You believe it? In the final days leading up to the election, Cuban made headlines with his sharp critiques of President Donald Trump. You remember his visit with The View when he argued that Trump was never seen around strong, intelligent women? It went viral, and some of those strong, intelligent women turned out in big numbers for Donald Trump. He later acknowledged that it was a mistake, especially after President Biden's controversial remarks about Trump supporters being garbage. Cuban's willingness to admit he overstepped reflects the intense polarization surrounding the campaign, wrote CNN. Despite his criticism, Cuban swiftly congratulated President-elect Donald Trump after results were finalized, saying that he posted on X, "Congrats at the real Donald Trump. You won fair and square," followed by a shout-out to Elon Musk, congratulating him as well, adding Godspeed, and offered to help any way that he can. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part, PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myPhD myphdweightloss.com. You know, it seems like every other week or so, we get some absurd story involving an airline where a flight attendant has either threatened to kick his passenger off or has called the police and escorted a passenger off. You know, you have to be real careful now when you board an airplane, because flight attendants have been given a lot of authority, and they love to use it now. And in the name of security, they'll have you arrested. They'll have you thrown off the plane. The old, customer service thing, to where you can question customer service that you're receiving. You can't do that anymore. Case in point, Delta is back in the news. And I'll have to say, Delta is my preferred airline. If I'm flying somewhere, and I'm going to be traveling several times in the next few weeks, it's all on Delta. Of course, you don't have a lot of choices. I mean, you have what? Delta, American, Southwest, United, and in our case, going out of the upstate of South Carolina, Delta is just typically the best choice for me. But in this recent incident, a Delta flight attendant sparked some outrage and some discussion about freedom of expression, military service, and the Delta corporate policies. Here's the story. A Marine Corps veteran, Catherine Banks, was removed from her flight for wearing a shirt aimed at raising awareness about veteran suicides. It happened on October 16th. She's a 22-year-old Marine Corps veteran. Miss Banks boarded a Delta flight from San Francisco to visit her family. She was wearing a shirt that read, "Do not give in to the war within in veteran suicide." Let me read it to you again. Do not give in to the war within in veteran suicide. She was approached by a flight attendant who said that her message was threatening. Now, this is a message for military veterans. Suicide is very high among our veterans, sadly. She said that she was confused and taken aback, that she was escorted off the plane. When she questioned the flight attendant about the removal, she learned that it was her shirt that had triggered the action. Despite explaining her military background, the flight attendant remained unsympathetic, she said. In a shocking turn, the flight attendant told Ms. Banks she could only return to her seat if she removed her shirt. She said she felt humiliated, pressured, but she complied by changing into a sweatshirt, a move that reflected the conflict between her right to express a critical issue and the airline's policies. Banks' shirt was part of the Till Valhalla Project's 22-a-day collection, highlighting the tragic statistics that around 22 veterans die by suicide every single day. 22 veterans commit suicide every day. With military suicides reaching these alarming rates, her message was one of advocacy and support for her fellow veterans, not a threat. Now, let me read to you, now that you know the context, let me read to you again. Her shirt simply said, in letters, it was a dark shirt with letters. It said, "Do not give in to the war within," those internal things that are going on within you, those bad thoughts. And then it said, "In veteran suicide." Now, what could possibly be threatening about that? Delta Airlines later stated that the situation had been resolved and expressed gratitude for Banks' service. However, their policy allows for the removal of passengers based on attire deemed offensive or threatening, raising questions about how such policies are enforced and interpreted. See what I'm saying? If the flight attendant is offended by something you say or something you're wearing, they have all the power, and boy, do they use it. I mean, this incident just serves as a reminder of some of the how complex freedom of speech can be sometimes, especially in public places like airplanes. Now, I wonder if this flight attendant has ever objected to maybe a Black Lives Matter T-shirt or something like that. This whole story, I couldn't believe it when I'm reading it. I hope Delta And there's just a little hint in the story that Delta had apologized to her. She hasn't said one way or the other. They owe her a big apology and all veterans an apology. And I hope that this flight attendant has been put back through some training. This is wrong. Another story that's a bit unsettling as well, out of Kentucky, that raises some questions about organ donation processes and medical ethics. Have you heard about this? In October 2021, Anthony Hoover was admitted to Baptist Health Hospital in Richmond, Kentucky following a drug overdose. Doctors assessed him, believed that he lacked any brain activity or reflexes, and recommended that life support be removed. His family was informed that he had consented to organ donation. Fast forward. Hoover's family made the difficult decision to honor this, which led to testing for viable, to make sure that his organs were viable. They even participated in a ceremony celebrating his life and future contributions as an organ donor, they said. The family was under the impression that the medical staff had followed protocol. As the surgery started, Hoover's sister, Donna Rohrer, noticed signs of life. His eyes opened and tracked movements. Initially told it was reflexive behavior, Rohrer later received shocking news. About an hour into the surgery, doctors confirmed that Hoover had awakened. This revelation has left the family grappling with disbelief and trauma. Yeah, I would think so. Wow. They were about to harvest his organs, and he's not really dead? Following the incident, the Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates, known as CODA, and Baptist Health both asserted that proper protocols were in fact followed, denying any pressure to harvest organs from living patients. There is this argument that sometimes medical staff can get a little too hasty in getting in harvesting the organs. Evidently, this may have been a case of that. The media attention on Hoover's case has sparked debates about organ donation. Currently, there's about 100,000 people on a waiting list waiting for an organ. And if you're one of those people waiting, I get it. You need that organ for you to continue to live a healthy and productive life. But boy, wow. This is scary, in fact. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. One of the most, or I should say, two of the most exciting appointments for me yesterday is that of tech billionaire Elon Musk and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. They're going to head this newly created Department of Government Efficiency. It's going to be known as DOGE, D-O-G-E. We'll see the overhauling of the U.S. government. Their aim is to eliminate bureaucracy, slash regulations, cut wasteful spending, and just restructure federal agencies in general, with hopes of eliminating some of them. I would suspect that the Department of Education has a bullseye on it right now. President Trump described the initiative as potentially the Manhattan Project of our time, and emphasized that it would bring about large-scale structural reform to create a more entrepreneurial approach to government. And boy, he's got two good men to do that. The department's mission is to reduce inefficiency and the waste that we know is within our government in that $6.5 trillion budget, ultimately making the federal government more accountable to you and me, to the taxpayer, the people who are writing the checks to pay the bills. Trump said that the department's work could culminate by July 4th, 2026, aligning with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, delivering a government that is smaller, more efficient, and less bureaucratic. And I hope there's no agency off the table for this. This is what we need. We need two men like this to look at our government and pretend they're running it like they run their businesses. And there's no sacred cows. Ramaswamy, a big-time Trump supporter, after he suspended his campaign, he got behind Trump. He expressed his excitement in a post on social media, writing, "We will not go gently, Elon Musk." Musk, in turn, responded with a playful jab, saying his focus was fighting bureaucracy, not democracy. Both say that they played crucial roles in Trump's campaign, with Musk actively supporting Trump in the key battleground states in the final weeks of the campaign. Now, this comes none too soon, as we learn that the Health and Human Services Department employs 294 people whose jobs focus on diversity, and the department maintains 7 minority health offices spread across its agencies, according to a report that suggests unwinding it may be tough. But I bet that it won't be too tough for Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. The majority of the staffers, according to the Washington Times, 182 workers, are paid 6-figure salaries. The top diversity job earner, who works at the Food and Drug Administration, is paid $221,000, according to Open the Books in a report they released yesterday. This watchdog group said that spending on the diversity, equity, inclusion agenda permeated the department, appearing 829 times in its 2025 budget and totaling hundreds of millions of dollars in direct spending. And the Democrats wonder why they lost so badly last week, because the American people are sick of this type of crap. Spending this kind of money on diversity, on equity, and inclusion. Hiring people, paying them $200,000 to be a diversity officer. That's what's wrong with our government. And people are sick and tired of it. And I believe we're going to see the Trump administration finally do something about it. Among the costs that appeared in their budget, listen to this now. Vaccine programs explicitly aimed at gay black men. Money earmarked for opioid programs that vowed to tackle systemic racism. A $5 million proposal to diversify the doula workforce, and $5,000 to pay for an appearance by Ibram X. Kendi, a leading anti-racism voice. A doula, if you don't know, is a person who provides support for people undergoing significant health-related experiences such as childbirth. Can you believe this? That this kind of stuff goes on in our federal government? And the Biden-Harris administration thinks it's normal, thinks it's a great thing. DEI backers say that the approach to government advances important missions by focusing money and attention on specific communities that need help. So we give them a job. Doesn't mention whether or not they're qualified to do the job. Doesn't mention if they can contribute to the mission of our government. It's just because they fall into one of these groups, they're paid. Open the Book said that every dollar spent on equity in HHS's bureaucracy is money that doesn't go to health. That's a good point, isn't it? Spending millions of dollars on diversity agents rather than benefiting people directly. It also ends up justifying other bad policies, John Hart said, head of the Open Books. He said, DEI at HHS is concierge Marxism. Academia is delivering a boutique and racially charged permission structure that helps bureaucrats feel morally innocent about imposing top-down command and control policies that can disproportionately harm low-income Americans. HHS is one of the largest federal departments in terms of budget, has more than 80,000 employees across more than a dozen divisions. Open the Book says that HHS's focus on DEI sprang from President Biden's demand for a whole-of-government approach to advance the issue. I mean, this has all happened during Joe Biden. These are new positions created by the Biden-Harris administration. And this is why it is so important that we won this election 2 weeks ago, because Kamala Harris would have just continued this, plus expanded it. According to Open the Books, their study found that 92 DEI employees are working under Secretary Xavier Becerra at HHS. 92 DEI employees. More than 200 others were spread among various agencies. The FDA alone had 3 DEI-related divisions, one for diversity management, a diversity working group, and a DEI excellence center. I mean, I read this and I just can't believe this is happening. The incoming Trump administration, of course, has chided the Biden team for its focus on DEI, and I can promise you they'll reverse this. They'll find a way to eliminate this, as they should. Officials at the National Health Institute, this is Dr. Fauci's old organization, invited this Mr. Kendi to make a virtual appearance in 2022. He read from his bestseller, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And NIH gave staffers free access to the tome in the ebook or audiobook format. Our federal government used our hard-earned tax dollars to pay this lunatic to read from his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. This is happening in a federal agency. One of the stipulations written into a contract document was that the appearance be available only to NIH staff, encrypted so it couldn't be downloaded and expunged from the website after 30 days. So actually, they were ashamed of it. They knew it was wrong, and they didn't want anybody to be able to get access to it after they forced these employees to view it. Sponsors shall use the recording only for the following purposes and for no other purpose whatsoever, the agreement read. The recording must be removed on 10/27/22. The recording must be encrypted so it cannot be copied or downloaded. It is sponsor's sole responsibility to ensure that appropriate web security measures are in place. The contract documents also made clear that employees would be offered a link to buy Mr. Kendi's books. So basically, we paid him to promote his book, and I'm sure we bought many copies of it. One email obtained by Open the Books through its open records request was from an employee complaining that the video was no longer available. The staffer wrote, "This is very disappointing." In response to the open records request, NIH seemed to justify the odd arrangement with Mr. Kendi and the expungement of the video as privileged commercial or financial information. No, I'll tell you what it was. It was a bunch of lunatics in a federal agency spending somebody else's money to promote their causes. Open the Book said a large part of the DEI spending is attributable to the minority health offices. The 42-member minority health office at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention began in 2021 to push medical researchers to incorporate inclusion, accessibility, and belonging into their work. The CDC also has promoted vaccine equity with pushes to inoculate black Americans, particularly the monkeypox vaccine for black men who have sex with men. Open the Book said that the details of that program have been scrubbed from the CDC website. Again, they're ashamed of it. They know it's wrong, and so now they don't want you and me to be able to see it now that it's been called attention to. Open the Book said agencies usually separate their equal employment opportunity efforts from their equity efforts, and for a good reason. The former aims to ensure fair treatment in the workplace, while the latter promotes particular diverse populations. For most of HHS, the two roles are tied in the same office, according to the analyst. Again, I just, when I read this kind of stuff, we knew it was happening. We knew that the Biden-Harris administration had just gone nuts forcing DEI on federal agencies. And this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. This is just one particular agency that this Open the Books has had the time to dig into. I would bet that if you go to all the other agencies, Department of State, Department of Justice, Department of Treasury, and certainly Department of Education, I'll bet you're going to find the same thing. They have fleeced us of probably billions of dollars, all in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's time that all of that is erased from our government. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.